Hey, morning, team sports fans. What I say? Episode 8. Um, took a little bit of a break there in between 7 and 8. Uh, you had some travel. I had some travel. We both had some home stuff going. I got a co-host today. And Charlie's having a little separation anxiety, so he wanted to jump in as well. But of course, a lot of stuff. Not that either of us have been inactive by any means.
How about by any means?
Yeah, if anybody's been following either of us, they've probably seen that we're really pushing and getting prepped for the athletic performance clinic that's coming up on August 7th, which is what we want to focus on. What we're going to discuss today, dive a little bit deeper into the what, who, when, why, and how behind that. Hopefully, I'll get my speech back by then.
Maybe.
And yeah, what everybody can expect and what they're going to get out of it, as well as a special little secret or not secret anymore, but announcement for anyone that's not able to make it. So yeah, Ed, good to reconnect with this. We've obviously been chatting offline, just via text and everything, keeping up to date. But how's everything going with you?
It's going good. Just getting everything ready. Trying to finish up the presentation. Want to have a good stuff with bringing more and new information and information that I had in my head that never seemed to make it onto a paper or into the presentation. So getting a little bigger jump on that and making sure that it's not only entertaining but very informative. And then when we get to the practical session, even more informative when you can see the exercises and the lifts that I talked about during the presentation, and then you can see it in real life when the guys are in position. So, and then the coaches and the players can go further and can start understanding a lot more of how the time in the weight room will actually benefit you. It's not just time to get a swole pump for Friday night, although that is a very important thing. I always like to run, when I was still with NOLA Gold, we like to run a Friday morning session of, swole daddy session. Lots of good shoulder work, some good back work, and then of course, got to work the arms.
Yeah.
Can't put your jersey on with and it looks like the jersey's still on a wire hanger. So you gotta have some thick arms in there.
Don't want to be that.
We even let your little backs in and play once in a while.
Oh well, we always appreciate. That.
There are lighter dumbbells at the other end of the rack, so for you guys.
Right. Well, before we go too deep into that, obviously, you're coming up on. You got to be in week 8 right now of your summer 12-week program. So if I remember correctly, transitioning out of the strength and getting into the speed power.
More athletic strength, because then start doing more med ball throws, much more sprint work. We had been prepared. They were preparing for it in that second 4-week block, getting the body prepared for it. And then that third 4-week block, start linear sprints and get rid of the sled, because they've been doing some sprint sleds or hill sprints, and start getting more into the more athletic strength and power work. And then from there, as they move into the next phase after that, then we will start with change of direction, which for bigs, I like running hoops, and I want the quick response jumps. So go find you some stairs to do some quick jumps on, jump rope, everything else. Start working, because it doesn't do any good to peak 2 months out of the season. You need to peak at the beginning of the season and then be able to maintain and hold that peak. And that's where the precision lies. That's where you have to have that coach's eye. You have to make adjustments. And then saw a couple of boys in the gym yesterday from the other team there, and complaining about how they lost muscle size, muscle strength, and like, yeah, that's what gets you hurt when you start losing that. So coaches, and I know I've been guilty of it in the past, until I went to the NBA and worked. But trying to keep solid quality muscle mass on these athletes, and it's more than a couple heavy sets of two in the power clean. Now, I love power cleans, I love all that, but it takes something different to keep that muscle mass on. And you're not a football player with shoulder pads, and you better have some muscle on those shoulders to absorb that hit. And your lower back better be strong to absorb that hit, all the way down into your legs, all the way down into your calves and your Achilles and your feet that are anchored into the ground. So knowing how to do that smartly, that's a real important aspect.
Yeah. And what would you say, in the first 8 weeks, what would you say has been kind of the biggest, I don't know what we call it, eye-opening moment for, for the athletes that are working with you right now? What's kind of the biggest surprise that they've noticed?
How much stronger they've gotten and how much more powerful they've gotten. We started throwing medicine balls in the, at week 5, we start throwing med balls, and we won't stop throwing med balls. Various throws and everything else. First 4 weeks, they're doing just basically scoop tosses and some side tosses, but either they're doing side toss off the wall, and they can hear it when when it hits, and if it hits solid, and then they can see the distance that med ball is going. When they're doing that scoop toss from behind, or scoop toss for height or anything else, they can start seeing that, and they can start figuring out, oh yeah, I do have to be in this position here, which is like what I talked to, always about strong in the correct positions.
Yeah.
Doesn't do, as a weightlifter, it doesn't do me any good to be really strong at my knee.
Yeah.
It only does me a justice if I'm strong at my hip, and that hip crease as I go into my extension. Start extending too early, the bars in mid thigh start extending too early because your lower back's not strong enough to hold that position, and you're going to kick the bar away, and you're going to look like the me strong football player doing a starfish catch in a reverse curl. And what good does that do? And it's actually one that I was watching some guys do some stuff, and it's something I talked about before, is the deadlift versus a clean pull, or a power pull, as I put it, because I always list it as a clean pull because I want your hips in the position of a power clean out of deadlift. What most people don't understand is a deadlift, your hips are as low as possible, and you're pulling back on the bar. And if you let go of the bar, you should fall back into the wall behind you. On a clean pull, your hips are a little bit higher, they're above your knees, your back's a little bit flatter and over. And if you let go of the bar, you should stand straight up. You shouldn't have any anything pulling you backwards. 2 completely different exercises. We just talked about getting into that power position, getting into that powerful position at the hip, as opposed to, because I just did deadlifts the other day, as opposed to a deadlift, I pass my knee, I get almost to mid thigh, and I relax my upper back, and I shove my hips through, because the only thing I need to do is lock the bar out. So I looked at 2 photographs, and my bar is locked out well below mid thigh, as opposed to a clean pull where the bar is all the way at my hip. And I'm tall, I'm tight, and everything else. Now, as an athlete, which one do you want to do? So deadlifts have a place in it, but they have a place in the early off season, and then continue to make that, keep that strong, and then come back to it. I mean, will always come back to them. We might have like a 3-week block or a 4-week block where we hit something a little bit slower. It might be a trap bar, might be this, might be that, but I don't really, as we come to the preseason aspect, I don't want to do anything that's not explosive, that's not accelerating. So I want the bar to continue to accelerate, just like I want the athlete to accelerate out on a pitch.
Yeah, I still remember. I mean, the first clinic that we did, Jesus, almost 2.5 years ago, 2019.
It was cold, it snowed.
Yeah, and you still refuse to wear pants.
Yeah, I know. I can't do it.
but that was, that was one of your big messages to the athletes was, even if it is a deadlift, get a little bit of a shrug at the top, accelerate that bar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
don't just ease into that extension.
Right.
Even if it is early preseason, make sure that
Right.
that we're moving as
Start
fast as
thinking,
possible.
how do you tackle? Are you going to tackle without your hips? Are you just going to throw your arms and and your big giant head in there? Are you going to accelerate? Are you going to accelerate into that tackle so that the guy's family members in the stands are like, "Oh, that hurt,"
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah,
you
for
wanted to
sure.
remember, it's the same thing for, and then here's where the deadlift does come in on that 7-8 seconds that they're holding in that scrum. That's where that static strength, that static power comes in.
Yeah.
So it has its place in there. It just has to be moved in and out. Or, like I like to do is with power clean, weightlifters, a lot of guys, they end up with a technique failure long before you would think that their technique should be go, or their power's there still. So power clean, and then do some pulls, and then do a slower pull with the deadlift. And then if we do that, we're going to go outside and we're going to do a couple of, it might be 10, 15 scoop tosses with the med ball to get that pop back in the body. So
Good
to me,
stuff. So
to me, the med ball is the great equalizer. It's the great thing for for backs and everybody, jumping and being able to do more single-legged work and everything else. But for a prop, for a tight five, that strength has to be there. So I need to get you strong.
yeah.
If the second row is the engine and it's pushing and driving that front row, you better be strong to be able to push. Because if you're weak, your hips are coming up. If you're weak in the hamstring and posterior chain, your hips are coming up. And same thing for the front row. If you got a gut looking like you should be, at the old YMCA in the 1950s, standing in the locker room telling stories about your glory days from high school, that's a problem too, because then you have to spread your legs out too wide just to be able to get your gut to pass. Or if you try to keep your feet in too tight, your gut hits your thighs and your butt comes up.
Yeah.
Come from an old power lifter who thought that I needed to be bigger to squat more, and it turned out not to be the case. I wanted more when I weighed 265 than when I weighed 305.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting you mention that, because one of the big kind of theories or concepts that I've really I don't want to say studied, but definitely kept in the front of my mind recently is oh gosh, what was it? I was watching a movie a couple of weeks ago, and they made a comment about money finds money. uh, just kind of how that tends to work out. Well, I think it was like from that, I started to think about that idea, and then came across it might have been one of Aaron Osmus or Joe Ken's articles that talked about mass moves mass.
mhm.
That there's just something there that somebody who's squatting 1,000 pounds, they're not going to do it weighing less than 350, maybe even
Right.
400
You're gonna have
pounds.
a 50-inch waist. Louis Simmons
Yeah,
says you have to have a 50-inch waist.
yeah.
But
And so, oh, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to, so bringing, kind of keeping that theory in mind, right, with regards to team sport athletes, they always kind of had that their mind fixated on, I have to squat this much, or I'm not squatting 400 pounds like I used to. Well, yeah, but you don't weigh 300 pounds like you used to either. And so if mass moves mass, it's like, all right, well, yeah, you might be able to hit that goal that you want, but are you willing to add 5, 10, 15 pounds or kgs of body weight in order to do it, knowing that you're going to have to sacrifice some conditioning, whatever else. So um
Right. But if you're playing rugby, is that sacrifice worth it? Can you
yeah,
get around the pitch? Can you get around here? Or are you just scrummaging and that's it? You know?
Yeah.
Mass move mass is a big thing from throwing as well, especially in the Highland games. Throwing a 50-pound weight, you gotta have a little something to hold you to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But I've watched a guy that weighed 190 pounds, because there's a lightweight division. I watched a guy that weighs 190 pounds throw a 56-pound weight further than I can.
Wow.
Okay, so it's lean muscle mass. It's not just a gut hanging over your shorts. Look at the NFL. The NFL went from a friend of mine that I throw with, Mike Babb, played in the NFL, was UT, all-star, all-American, everything else. He was in 1990, 83. I think he told me he got drafted 83. He was 6'4", and he weighed 285 pounds. And he looked like a chiseled rock, and he was the biggest center in football. 11 years, he retires in 11 years. He's still 6'4". He's still 285 pounds. He still looks damn good. And he's the smallest center in football. And guys had went, because the play of the game had changed. And the guys went to bigger because there was a lot more throat passing. So the guys were bigger, and they moved into their passing positions, on the offensive line, and the defensive line went at them. And back then, you still only had the one defensive lineman that was huge playing nose guard, because he can only move to play nose guard.
Yeah.
But your ends and your linebackers were huge, muscular. The JJ Watson kind of stuff like that now, but even back then. And then, as it is now, linemen are becoming leaner. They're becoming much more athletic. And they're finally starting to focus on training the linemen like athletes. Duke Manyweather, who does unbelievable stuff with O-line masterminds, and then O-line performance with Charles Bentley. I mean, they're responsible partially for my passion of wanting to focus on the tight five.
Yeah.
They focus on their 5 linemen. I want to focus on mine, because somebody needs to train them to be athletic. There's no reason a big can't jump. I didn't say land, but there's ways of jumping, and you still got to land.
Yeah.
You can't keep sterilizing the process with this load management and everything else. Load management is coaches pay attention to your athletes and what they're doing. If you're pissed off and they're doing a line out, and your jumpers are hitting the ground because the lifters are getting fatigued and the jumpers are hitting the ground harder and harder and harder and harder, yeah, that's going to lend some beating on them. You got to give them some recovery. And there's again, the reason that the catch and the squat, the catch and the clean and the squat is so important is the absorption of strength. You got to be able to absorb what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Not just jumping. You're not just coming back to earth with, your body weight. You got to factor gravity in there. So that kind of thing. So wanting to focus on that. So, look at the game of rugby. Your forwards, especially your front rowers, are expected to be much more athletic. They're expected to get around the pitch. That's what you see in international play. That's what you see in Premiership, Pro 14, and damn sure down in Super Rugby. Those guys are getting around the pitch. They got to be quick. They got to be explosive. They're going to be fast, but they're going to be quick. You're not running more than 10 meters.
Yeah.
If that. But you got to be able to cover from 0 to 5 in any direction, whether it's laterally, back pedal, or forward. And you got to be able to arrive. But when you arrive, you have to arrive in a proper position to do something. Otherwise, you're just in the way, and you're going to get run over by maybe the second guy who comes in mentally ready and physically ready, to go.
Yeah.
And you're just going to get plowed into and shoved down on the pile. Yeah. So that's the thing, and then, like I said, you got to carry that weight around for whatever it is that the coach is asking you to play, whether it's 53 minutes, 60 minutes, or the full 80.
Yeah.
But sometimes where you just need to play the full 80. That's the same thing for you as a coach, though. Like I said, looking at player management. If I played you 80 minutes and we had some hard practices, and then I played you another 80 minutes, I need to give you some time off, or I'm not going to have you for 20 minutes soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of, without sharing too much of the secret sauce, what in terms of the practical session that we got coming up on August 7th, for those who haven't seen, we're going to be having that at the Universal Sports Facility here in Bloomington. So we've got some good indoor space we've got a couple of racks and plenty of bars and whatnot to jump some or throw some people in and let them do some work, kind of in front of our eyes or in front of your eyes. But what's kind of the quick and easy overview of what you got in store for those that can make it?
Just looking at them and letting them experience, getting them into a scrum position, and then being able to relate it back to, the barbell row or the clean pull that they just did. And I know you have some stuff there that we can play with, a little bit of the and I'm going to break it out, the strongman conditioning work that I did last year with the Nola Gold guys and some others, and break some of that out and get a little better idea of what it is on that strongman conditioning, and how it can benefit not just the bigs. Now I had more backs than I had forwards, more than a few times. And they loved it. Tim Moppin, Sean Riley, God rest his soul, and a few other ones. I mean, they really enjoyed it. And sometimes the weight wasn't that much different, but they got a good challenging workout where it was strength based and their heart rates got up a lot in 30 minutes, and there was a lot of sweat pouring off of them. But it wasn't always with the weight training, so it was refreshing. We did that on Fridays for quite some time, and it was very refreshing. Guys would come in and they were ready to go at 8:30 in the morning, before it got brutally hot. But they were ready to go. Had a couple of boys come in, studs. Did it one time, and told me that it was miserable and that they were going to be sore, and if they didn't talk to me for the next few weeks, you'll understand. So it's not for everyone, but at least it opens up something. This isn't something new for me. I mean, I've been doing it myself out of necessity when I was in the military, and then after that, I actually did it with several San Antonio Spurs players.
Oh wow!
$multi-million guys flipping a tire because they saw me do it and they wanted to do it. Not because I had them do it or anything else. They saw me doing it out west. And when we went out to Portland, I hooked up with some buddies, and they saw the training, and they had to give their try to it after the season. If I'd have done that during the season, Pop would have strung my fat self up somewhere. But they liked it, and they did it a few times, and they like I said, they enjoyed it because it was something different. I've been lifting my whole life, and I love the gym, but there's some days I just need something different. Just another way of getting it. But you flip a 600-pound tire a few times, and your whole body's going to be sore. But as you drive into it, as you drive in, it's 600 pounds, not that heavy. So even, no matter what it is for whatever it is for you, but you drive into it, you drive through it, and you drive it over, you get your little bit of aggression out. Trust me. as it comes up and it's starting to fall back on it, you have to keep driving against it. If the bar gets out of position, you drop it. It's a normal thing. You don't want to catch it and keep trying to, muscle it into position. You're going to miss the lift. Okay. It's
Yeah.
acceptable. But if you're flipping a 600-pound tire, you're not going to miss it. There's just something brutally inherent, more Neanderthal than anything else. At least that's what the wife tells me.
Yeah. Well, and we're excited too. I think, last time we did this, we had a lot of folks who were, extremely interested in joining in, but even like right now, not able to travel and whatnot. And so we're super excited that this year we are going to make, we are going to get recordings, or record the presentations, record the coaching sessions, as well, and make those things, as well as access to our presentations, the slide decks, make that available to anyone who's not able to attend in person. So
As best we can, because I'm not that computer savvy, so don't put me in charge of anything.
yeah, we won't have the full setup to go live, but we are going to record it and make all that stuff available after the fact, for not just for the folks who can make it, so they've got a replay, but also for the folks who are unable to make it, so they can still, at least get some of that information and take it away, with hopefully enough time going into their fall season.
Yeah, it seemed like we had a couple of folks that from overseas in the UK that are interested, thanks to Rugby Outreach, who promoted it for us on Twitter and sent some other stuff out. So
Yeah, so looking forward to that, and then of course, I'm always, you know, I always geek out on the number stuff, on the science stuff, on the nerdy stuff. So looking forward to sharing some more on, kind of the sports science side of things.
yep, and this old dinosaur's learning.
Yeah. And then we've even got, for the backs, or for the non-rugby athletes that are there, actually might even have some hockey athletes, some other club sports coming to join us. So got our other toys that we'll be playing with as well, doing some time stuff, some velocity based stuff, just to at least introduce them to that kind of science and how
Big
they
boys
can.
big boys need to get in there on that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Can't be
good
slow.
stuff.
You can't be slow. You can't be slow anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
That era of rugby is gone.
yeah. Any other secrets or previews to share about the clinic?
No, sign up and get there.
Oh, actually, yeah, one free lunch.
Oh, free
Free
lunch.
lunch included in the
As long as I'm the last one
registration.
in line, because if I'm the first one in line, no one's eating anything.
Yeah, yeah. So
They
yeah,
said
we'll be sure to.
the forwards have to go second, the backs go first, because they'll just actually just going to eat a salad, right?
No, we'll have two separate lines for that. So.
Oh, cool. There you go. There you go. Well, then it's fair to you guys.
But we do want to provide lunch for everybody that comes.
Yeah,
That way, there's some extra Q&A time.
definitely.
With you and the
And
guests.
when we do that, when we do sit down to eat for lunch, feel free to sit down with one of us. Get up and move and go ask questions with the other. I don't want to sit there in silence and stare at my phone or stare at the wall. Come sit down and talk to us. There's reasons for everything that we do, and we'll explain it to you. We'll walk you through. I'd like to hear someone else's take. Somebody that comes in that's been coaching for a long time, that's played the game for a long time, or even if you haven't, you might have a different take, and it might be something that I can learn, something that I can take and expand on, or anything else. I mean, no, it doesn't. Your time on the planet, or your time in the sport, doesn't have anything to do with the education or the way that you look at it. You might look at it a different way, and it might be a way that I need to look at it as well. Like when we talked to Graham, that one that was unbelievable to me. I got 3 pages of notes on, and I got one whole page of notes just on the lifting and the line out that we talked about.
Yeah.
I got a half a page of notes on the position of the hands on the front lifter and on the back lifter.
Yeah.
So you're going to learn from everyone. If you can't figure out how to learn one piece of information from everyone that you come in contact with professionally, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. 100%. So,
but stop being like rugby guys and not signing up or sign up at the last second, or trying to do it on the cheap.
Yeah.
Trying to do it. Well, what kind of deal can I get? Well, here's the deal you got. You're going to get better. You're going to create a relationship and get better. Just because the one time, if I say stuff that you like and everything else, like the coach from Ohio State, we had talked, and I'll get a chance to talk to him again, because you said hopefully he's coming, and I'll get a chance to talk to him again, and you start building a relationship so that you can benefit each other, and you can bounce questions off of each other via. I mean, Jesus, so much easier now. But back in my day with the prehistoric times, you had to actually call somebody on the phone. You actually had to talk to them. Now you can send them a text message. You take a video, send a text message. You don't even have to talk to the person.
Yeah. So good stuff. Well, yeah, closing in on 2 weeks away. So, so super excited. Hopefully plenty of people get a hold of this and start signing up or add on to the guest list. So
Add on to the guest list.
We'll certainly look forward to hosting everybody there in a couple of weeks and diving deeper into everything that you're talking about.
Yep. All right.